So welcome to the training session, how to onboard your services to the Eosc portal. And so my name is Heinrich, and I will just open the session and give some general informations and show the agenda for today. So this is a real interactive training session with experts on onboarding. So that means we want to include the audience throughout the sessions. And we are happy to have two experts from the Eosc portal onboarding team today with us, so which will lead you to through the process of onboarding a service to Eosc portal. And we use for the questions and answers the Slido, as here put here the event code and the passcode. So it's as well add to the chat. So, and please ask your questions there in the Slido, and you can ask your questions completely anonymously if you want. And as you likely know, you can upvote questions you want to hear. So, and we will collect all the questions. So the questions will be answered during the interactive session as far as possible and as far the time allows. But all questions asked and will be provided together with the answers afterwards in a Google Doc. I will present the link, or the link will be as well put in the chat of this Q&A collection, of the Q&A collection document. And this document and all other material will be provided afterwards as well on the Eosc website. Okay. So then here you see the agenda, and I will introduce very briefly the speakers. So my colleague Annalena Flügel will, so she is as well involved in Eos Future and other Eosc projects as ESU Nordic, etc. pp. And especially in EUDAT, where she is one member of the B2Find team. And she will give an introduction to the Eosc Future training task and present a related survey. And then we will overhand to Katalin Conturake from the EGI Foundation and Luciano Gaido from ENFN. So they as well both are involved in several Eosc projects as Eosc Future, and Luciana as well in Eosc Pillar. I think the speakers and will introduce themselves very shortly then. And so we are very happy that we have Catalin and Luciano here from the ePod team, because they will lead us through the onboarding process of onboarding a service in the Eosc portal, and within this interactive training session. And as said, we want to do this really interactively within the Q&A session, and so you can ask all questions on onboarding here. And in the last 10 or 15 minutes, we are keen to know on your feedback and want to discuss next steps to go. Okay, with this, I will hand over to Annalena. So Annalena, it's your floor.
Thanks, Heinrich. Yes, my name is Annalena Flügel. I'm working at the German Climate Computing Center here in Hamburg, and I'm happy to present to you today a short introduction how we came up with this training. I am part of the Eosc Future Task 9.2. Within this task, we developed this training, and the aim of our task is to provide reusable training programs for Eosc end users and providers to be used across different disciplines and countries. So no problem, right? To tackle this, we would kindly ask you for your feedback at the end of this training session. We will ask you if we missed something, if something wasn't unclear, or if you would have wished for more info. Next slide, please, Heinrich. So to come up with this training, we did a short survey on potential provider training needs. The survey is still open, so if any providers here would like to give their input, you can still take the survey. It's really short, less than 5 minutes to complete. And yeah, we used the following results to design this training session. We asked where our providers come from, which research domains. So far, we had 69 responses in total, mostly from the social sciences, the natural sciences, and engineering and technology domain. Then we asked which types of resources they would like to onboard to the Eosc. There we see most of them want to onboard data repositories or catalogs, some sharing and discovery services, and then processing and analysis and some other type of services or tools. Those included authentication tools, training resources, journal publishing platforms, the Tesseract and its VRE building platform, and storage and archive. Then, most important for us, we asked the question which topics trainings on Eosc should cover. The topics of interest were mainly, within our 69 respondents, the Eosc rules of participation, which Katalin will tackle a little bit in his presentation, I think. And the question, what are the benefits for Eosc providers? I think this has been addressed during the first day a lot. And yeah. Well, here we come to our session, how to onboard a service to the Eosc portal. Just a tutorial on this. And we decided to do our first training on this topic. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Annalena. So
one more, there's one more slide again.
Oh, sorry.
It was, no,
Excuse
it's
me.
all good, it's all good. It was just about the types of training that people wanted. And yeah, that one. Thanks, Heinrich.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because we wanted basically to know, do people want to learn independently and prefer self-learn courses, online courses, or webinars, which a lot of them did, but also on the other hand, the hands-on workshops were very in demand, apparently. So yeah, we tried both. We are recording this session as a webinar for later use, and do a hands-on workshop with our experts here, so you can ask them questions via the Slido, or yeah, at the end, maybe we can start a discussion if we still have time. So thank you. That was it from my part, and I would hand over to Katalin.
Yeah, sorry, Annalena, to stop this too early. So I stop now the sharing the screens and will hand over to Katalin and Luciano.
Yes, and good afternoon. Let's put here my first slide. And I do believe everything is fine for you, yeah? You can see my cover page. Hi.
Perfect.
So I'm Katalin Condorake from EJ Foundation. I'm a member of the EJ operations team, acting as service delivery officer, but taking care within operations of the EJ Federation services. We are monitoring and get in touch with providers to keep up this big infrastructure up and running. I'm also contributing to Eosc Future. EGI Foundation is a partner in Eosc Future project, and I'm contributing to work packages. One work package is work package 6, which involves Eos portal and onboarding. And starting with beginning of this year, I became sort of coordinator of the EPOT, Eos portal onboarding team, but believe me, is a teamwork. Coordinator just has to make sure the next meeting is happening, send invitation, and maybe keep some notes. So how to get started with onboarding? I'm not sure. There are 60 participants. Probably yesterday you attended the first day, and my colleagues Matt Villion and Mark Dietrich put a lot of information about almost the same thing. I believe Matthew had onboarding how-to short presentation. So it's more or less the same thing. If there are people which haven't been yesterday, is useful for them, or maybe this is a sort of my view about Eos future, and onboarding maybe is a proper view. Matt and Mark, they don't do onboarding. Myself and Luciano and Andreas here in the audience are doing onboarding. So let's start. European Open Science Cloud, again, has been told, but for me is like an environment to host and process research data to support scientists in European Union mainly. And it addresses some challenges, works with FAIR principles of data, findable, accessible, interoperable, reusable. It deals with this federation of research infrastructures, and has a well-defined governance model with clear rules of participation. Eos Architecture, again, it has 3 main blocks: Eos Exchange, Eos Core, and Eos Interoperability Framework. And then onboarding to Eos is about populating the Eos Exchange block. So this is where onboarding takes place. So what is onboarding? Is about registering and publishing resources into the Eos portal. So new resource provider and their resources are added to the portal based on application of inclusion criteria. Then I put a link. This link is repeated several times. It's quite important. Why to onboard? Because there is a significant added value, I would say, provided by the portal. For service provider, it is possible to integrate with the core and to enable service and composability to attract new users. And users have a single point of access to discover, to order service, obtain help, and other things. You can see from this diagram, maybe small, that once the resource and the provider are onboarded, there are several possibilities to integrate with help desk, with monitoring, with accounting, with authentication and authorization infrastructure federation, maybe with Eosc Digital Innovation Hub to exploit resources. There are several possibilities also to be covered by the security activity or a specific working group. And the example can continue, and or reasons can continue, can be listed here. But why to onboard? Also because there are already 223 resource providers and more than 300 resources onboarded and available in Eosc Marketplace. These are the dates taken by myself on 25th of April, on Monday, when I finalized the slides. So if you are not among those 223, maybe you want to join them and make your resources number 400. I don't know. And also because there are defined target groups and communities, I put it here. They are listed in the marketplace that might find your resources being of interest. Never know. Where and how to onboard? So provider portal, providers.eosc-portal.eu. First, you onboard as the resource provider, and then once the request to onboard the provider is validly approved, resources can be onboarded via the web user interface or via the application programming interface, the API. We have a mailing list where can provide us open mailing list where you can access, get contact with the onboarding team with EPOT. There is documentation, which we try to keep up to date. And then, as I said, this entries about the record about provider and resources are validated by us. They are listed into the marketplace. It is also possible to onboard via community organizations. One way would be once a community catalog is integrated with Eosc, but there is a bit of work in progress here. Automatically, resource will become advertised via the Eosc marketplace. It is possible to contact community organizers depending on other regional arrangements and if there are catalogs there. But at the end, after the integration, the information might get up to this Eosc marketplace point. About onboarding process, so this yes, as has been explained maybe a bit in detail yesterday by Matthew, the process is in place since Eosc Hub and Eosc Enhance projects, so 2 years ago. It follows, as I said, this Eosc portal inclusion criteria. We have 2 separate procedures: the validation of new request for service provider and for their resources, and they are checked against this rule of participation requirements. But also there is an ongoing audit process to make sure that the records are maintained and are remaining valid. So we try to do not have outdated information in the portal and to be displayed by marketplace. And again, in this diagram, we have, let's say in central place, the activity of EPOT with the provider submitting application to register as provider and then as a resource. And as an input here is this this inclusion criteria. Also, there are options, as I explained earlier, about integration with other core modules, help desk, AI, monitoring, accounting, and ordering. Yes. So I try maybe to present here a few things, 3 slides about this inclusion criteria. So we, the EPOT members, are applying this criteria against this request to register entries into the portal, both for the resource provider and resources. So they are defined this criteria around few things: what groups can onboard to Eosc as a provider, who can onboard resources, what resources can be connected to Eosc, and then there is a profile for a provider and profile for resources, different, but they have to be filled, and there is a minimum of mandatory fields, which from time to time, when the profile is updated, these are reviewed, and let's say we consider we are improving the profile. And also the provider has definitely to agree to periodically update the data to maintain the records valid. As an example, maybe let's say highlighting some criteria for resource provider, the resource provider needs to be a legal entity, or to list a hosting legal entity for them. So this is the legal entity is needed in order to keep a minimum accountability for the information that is there. Is the case of a project which might have deploy a research infrastructure to register it as a provider, but what is happening at the end of the project, no one knows or no one cares. But in this case, you cannot put that project as a legal entity, but hosting legal entity could be the project coordinator partner, which maybe is already registered in the portal. If not, they may want to register, and they can act as HLE for other providers. And this ensures a bit of, as I said, accountability, let's say beyond, on long term. Also, the resource provider should be able to submit a valid resource, not to be just like a web store. Resources which are onboarded by the RP have to be delivered by the RP, or let's say by some collaborating organization. This is also, Lucian will show you in the demo, the proper field. And then EPOT members are checking if the links provider point to the correct expected content, if the fields are correctly filled and the mandatory fields are there. And also resource provider, as I said, I repeat again, they need to be in position to be able to maintain records. For resources, these have to be live services like IT service or human. Human is training, consultancy, something like that. This is happening right now. Data and software is not yet ready to be onboarded. We hope starting with September 22, so Q3 of this year, to be possible to onboard such resources. Also, maturity, about the technology readiness level, we accept level 7 in the portal, but only level 8 and 9 are making into the marketplace in order to be ordered. So if you are at level 7, we consider you cannot be ordered by users. These services have to have something to do with Eosc and with Eos communities, and I need to be built on Eos capabilities. And then again, the same thing, we check links which are provided to be valid links, not sort of unreachable, to be correctly filled and mandatory to be there. And I took liberty to put a few things about these terms of use and privacy policy. At this very moment, they are not mandatory. They will become mandatory on 1st of July in more around 1 month. But we have cases on this, and we're suggesting providers to add these documents. But the idea is we are not lawyers, but these documents need to minimally look coherent. So I would say common sense, right? Most of us are now, when we are accessing some services online, we have possibility to check the terms of user privacy policy. Some of us, for curiosity, are clicking there, and we know how this should look. So we are having this approach, a light approach about terms of use and privacy policy. But you cannot trick us to put something which is definitely not the terms of use. About onboarding phases, so as I said, the resource provider is onboarded first as a record, then it is approved by EPOT. Then first resource is onboarded and again is explicitly approved. There is a process of approval. Once the first resource is onboarded, second, third, and next resources are automatically making into the portal and into the marketplace. So we assume there is valid information and coherent information, but nevertheless, all these resources which have not been approved by human are sort of first in the queue to be audited by POT regularly. So yeah, every week we have a set of new entries which have to be validated. As I said, that's audited at regular intervals. This slide, I took it from Matthew yesterday. So onboarding procedure, you go to providers eos-portal.eu and you find become a provider, apply now, and you get to this first page, but you'll see exactly the following pages in Luciano's demo. And last slides about some figures in EOS portal. So there is an EOS operations portal with some EOS portal metrics. So as I said, 317 resources, numbers of visitors for EOS portal and marketplace, numbers of page views, the number of service orders, unique users, countries, and how many scientific disciplines. This again was last on Monday. And the marketplace gives some information about similar things. We have the very same 317 resources. Also, there were 223 providers recorded and 52 communities, infrastructure, and 17 defined target groups. These are, if you are checking right now, there might be different because there is ongoing EPOT activity, and if someone is approved, it will be increased. If so, by some reason someone is inactivated, rejected, you'll get less, a smaller number here. So I cannot guarantee every day you get the same number. It may get decreased number. And this is it. And I thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you very much.
If there are questions now or during the Luciano's demo, I don't know, at the end,
there are questions. We have some questions. Thank you, Katalin, for this interesting overview. We have some questions in the Slido. I will read them. The first question is, I belong to an institution that is already a provider, but I am not sure if I should click on I assert that I am an authorized representative of this resource. And then it is cut. I don't know. Whoever asked this question, you can also unmute yourself and ask the rest if I missed some vital part here. So when is one an authorized representative of a resource?
I believe it's sort of an internal affair within that institution to see who can represent the institution to enter the data there. So I'm not sure. Luciano, we have different.
I can complement. So from a technical point of view, authorized people to make changes to the entries in the EOS portal or to other resources are the ones listed as administrators in the service provider entry. I will show you in a moment how it works. So if you belong to an institution already registered, but you are not listed among the administrator, you cannot do anything on the Eos portal. If you need to do so, you have to contact the main contact of your institution and ask him or her to add you among the administrators. This is for the time being, where the administrator's role is defined for the service provider only. But in the near future, there will be an important improvement, because the resources will have also the admin fields. So different resources belonging to the same organization may have in the future different administrators.
Okay, the next question is kind of a follow-up to this. How do I find out who the representative of my institution is, if the institution is already a provider? How do people find out who to contact at their institution?
If you look at an entry in the marketplace, you can see who is the main contact for this, or the public contact, and you can ask them.
Okay. Next question. What happens if the resource I want to register is a resource that is jointly owned by two different providers, institutions?
This is possible. I will show you how to do. I will show you how to do this during the demo.
Perfect. Okay. Could I register a group as a provider even when my institution is already registered?
No, as Katalin was pointing out, service providers should be legal entities. If you belong to an institution already registered, it's you should contact the main contact person of your institution, who is responsible for the registration of this, or one of the administrators, and ask them to add you among the administrators for the time being. As I was saying before, when the admin field will be added to the resource profile, there will be the possibility to split the responsibilities for the different resources among different groups.
Okay. Next question. You mentioned two routes to onboarding, directly through ePod and the other through a community representative. Is there a list somewhere of who the latter are?
Not sure I understand.
I do believe it is about those regional or thematic catalogs.
Yes,
I'm not
yes,
sure, like Nifos
so, yeah.
is one. I'm referring to this type of catalogs. And for sure, Nifos is, we have a prototype of integrating it. Is not yet done, but not too far to be done. This type of other European projects with their own catalogs, with the aim, our aim, great aim to put together.
I think that as soon as there will be external catalogs interoperating with the Eosc catalog, there will be a list somewhere in the Eos portal where people can find who are the external catalogs already connected.
Okay, there are quite some more questions, but I think we should, for now, continue with Luciano's demo, and we will forward all these questions to the ePod team and answer them in a Google Doc, the link of which I will post in the chat. 1 second again, and so you can look up the answers a few days after this session too. We will try to answer all of your questions. So please, Luciano.
Okay, thanks. So my name is Luciano Gaido. I work at INFN, the Italian National Institute for Nuclear Physics, and I am involved in the EPOT team, as already mentioned by Heinrich. And I'm involved also, I was involved, and I'm currently involved in several projects related to the Eosc. Eos Cub was the first flagship project with the main goal of implementing the Eosc. Now I'm involved in the same activity in Eos Future, but also there are a couple of other projects I'm involved in. Eos Pillar, one of the regional projects which have the main goal of supporting the connection at national level with the Eos, and a project funded under the 07 call, which is called EGIAs, which is providing some horizontal services. I think this could be enough for my presentation. During this demo, I will show you how to start with the process of onboarding a service provider and then a resource. So, do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Good. So this is the first page of the portal. For this demo, we are using the sandbox, which is a test instance of the portal where we can onboard new providers, new resources, just for understanding how it works. But the behavior is exactly the same as the production portal Katalin was mentioning in his slide. So when you want to start the process, you have to open this page and then go to the page Become a Provider, which is this one. When you click on Apply Now, you are redirected to your, you have to agree with the privacy policy and assert that you are authorized to represent the resource provider, and then apply. And then you are redirected to your institution for authentication. I already did this, so you cannot see this, but trust me, you will be redirected there. So the first step is to start filling in this template, which is based on version 3 of the profiles. As Katalin was pointing out in his presentation, from July 1st, the version 4 of the profiles will become operational. There are some important changes. The main ones are related to some fields which in version 3 of the profiles are optional, while they will become mandatory in profile 4.0. But essentially, and there are some minor changes, but the main information is still the same. So you have to start filling in all this information. This is for the provider component. There are 8 menus you have to fill in. For the sake of time, I have prepared 2 entries already filled in the provider portal, one for the service provider onboarding called Demo Service Provider, and a second one for the first resource, Demo Eosc Resource Onboarding. So I will guide you through the menus by looking at the various information needed for both of them. So when you start this process, you have to fill in the information for the service provider, which is this one. So the first menu, the basic information, is flagged with an asterisk, which means that this information is mandatory. All the fields flagged with an asterisk are mandatory. We have to fill in the name of the provider and the abbreviation too, and provide a link to the website. This should be, of course, a valid link. Then what is very important is the legal entity information. As Katalin pointed out, in order to be admitted to, as a service provider into the Eos portal, you have to be a legal entity. And this is for accountability reasons. If you declare that you are a legal entity, you can, but this is optional, state which kind of legal entity you are. There is a drop-down menu. You can choose association, consortium, and so on and so forth. But in case you are not a legal entity, so if I choose no here, you have to fill in this additional field, hosting legal entity. This should be an already registered service provider, which is, of course, a legal entity. In profile 340, this field is free text. So we ended up in a situation where people put here various types of information, some of them not very clear or not suitable. So in profile 4.0, this will be a control vocabulary, and you will have to choose an hosting legal entity from a list of already registered service providers. Then we can go to the next menu, the marketing. You have to provide a description of your service provider. You have to provide a logo with a link. Several formats are accepted, but we from time to time experience some issues about this. In such a case, you have the possibility to send a message to the onboarding mailing list to notify any issues about this, but anyway, this should not be a real problem. Then you have the possibility to provide multimedia information too. Classification is inherited from previous attempts to build a catalog, and some of this information are not really relevant, but it's up to you to decide. Anyway, all this information, as you can see, are optional. What is important is that you provide some text here, which will be used during the search of the services and the service providers. So try and put some information here, which is relevant for your institution, for your service provider. Location information, you have to provide the address of your institution, the city, the country, and so on and so forth, and the contact people. There are two categories here. One is the main contact, which is mandatory. This should be the reference person responsible for the service, which does not mean that this person has to administrate the information in the Eos portal. Is the person we could rely on in case we have trouble to contact the administrators. So you have to put here the name, I put my information here, the phone number, the position, and so on. But then there is this section called public contact, where there is only one mandatory information, which is the email contact. Our suggestion here is that you put a generic mail address here, because this email address is the one which will be shown on the marketplace. So when people will look for a service provider or for Azures in the marketplace, they will get this information. So this address will get all the requests from the prospective users. You can add several people under this section. Another important thing is the maturity section, where we can put information about the status of your organization. This is optional. And under the other menu, you can put some information which can show to prospective users how your service provider is made of. You can put here some participating countries if this is an international entity, the affiliation, the network, and the structure type, which may be distributed, mobile, other single-sided or virtual, and so on and so forth. Then you could add some S3 information. These are information in a controlled vocabulary, but it's not mandatory. And also, this was inherited from a previous version of the catalog as well, the Mary's scientific categorization. Then the area of activity, the societal grand challenges your institution is trying to address, and national roadmaps, if any. The last section in this provider entry is the very important, the administrator. So when you register with your credential in the Eos portal, you provide some information and a mail address. This information is reported as the first entry is automatically filled in this section. So I registered as Luciano Gaido and I found my information here. Then you can add additional, through this plus button, additional administrators here. Bear in mind that, as I was already pointing out, that only people listed in this category, administrators, have the possibility to make changes in this entry and also in the associated resources. This is all for the service provider side. Are there burning questions about this, or should we wait for the second part, the resource part is shown?
Right now, there are no burning questions regarding the onboarding of providers. Do you guys have questions regarding the provider onboarding right now? Or otherwise, Luciano would now go on and present how to onboard resources once the provider has been authorized.
Okay, just a warning. If you put incorrect information here, for example, if I forgot to put a T here, you see that this entry, the content of this entry is highlighted in red. Highlighted in red means that there is a mistake. So you cannot go on with the submission. So if there is one or more fields highlighted in red, you cannot see here anything. Where if, but on the contrary, if everything is fine, as in this case, you can see here the submit button. So when you have completed the filling in of all the information here, you can click on submit button and your application is sent to the Eos portal. And then and this is where the validation activity by the EPO team starts. So you will be contacted by the EPO team if there are issues with some of these fields, with some of the information you have provided. But if everything is fine, the EPO will simply approve your request if it is compliant with the inclusion criteria, of course. So for the resource part, this is the resource called demo Eos resource. I will do the same. So these are the pre-filled entry. So there is the basic menu information where you have to provide the name of the service of the resource, then the resource organization and the resource providers. The questions we had before about this is related to this. The resource organization is the main organization providing the service. In case of a consortium, this was the example given before, here you probably will find the main entity, the main organization belonging to the consortium, the coordinator or whatever. Anyway, this is the service provider registered before. So when I am here in the service provider part and I submit the entry, then when the entry, the service provider has been approved, so this is an approved service provider, I can start with adding resources. Well, in this case, I have already onboarded one resource who you cannot see the button add the first resource, but this will be shown in the provider's portal. So when I start onboarding the first resource, this information, the resource organization, will be the same as the service provider already onboarded. But then if there are additional resource provider connected to the service provider who are providing the same resource, who are contributing to the same resource, you can list them here among the resource providers, and you can add as many as you need. Then, as for the service provider, there is the web page field. The marketing section is more or less similar to the provided one. The logo, multimedia, you can put some information about the use cases here for the resource. The classification is very important because it has to do with what is shown on the marketplace. So this entry refers to the Eos portal itself. So it is, of course, generic, but you can choose among these options in the control vocabulary. And so you can select also scientific subdomains. The categorization is very important because this is what determines where in the marketplace your resource will be shown. Probably you have already shown this is the marketplace. You can see that in the marketplace, resources are grouped according to the category. You can choose the category, and then you can see which resources appear under each of the categories. So this is very important. Then the target users, you can state here who are targeting to. The access type, it is a control vocabulary, the way a user can access the resource, which may be physical, remote, virtual, and so on and so forth. The access mode, it may be free conditionally, paid, peer-reviewed, or other, and you can suggest other possibilities if this is not covered in the control vocabulary through this button, add access mode. This will not imply an automatic addition to the control vocabulary because it has to be moderated, but anyway, you can suggest additional options here. Then the text to describe very briefly what is the content of your resource. Availability, where your resource is available in Europe or all over the world, in a specific country or whatever. And the language availability, you can choose the language here. Bear in mind that one of the inclusion criteria is that the main pages of the resource should be in English. Then you can have additional pages in other languages, but in order to be eligible for the Eosc portal, you should at least have the main pages in English. Location is, again, the location where the service is there. The contact information is similar to the provider's one. We have only the main contact here and the public contact. At the end of this section, you have to provide an help desk email in case of problems. People have to know who to contact for notifying the issues, and the security contact email. The maturity is also very important. Catalin already said that we accept services at technology readiness level at 7 or above, but only 8 and 9 levels will be shown in the marketplace. We have to choose this here. This will change in the future because we will delete the levels under 7 because it makes no sense. And then some other information optional, the life cycle status, the certification, the standards, the resources compliant with, and so on, open source technologies, and so on and so forth. Dependencies is optional, but it may be interesting or important for your resource. If your resource requires additional or external resource, you can list them here, and also the related resources or related platforms. The attribution field is optional, but it is important, especially if your resource is funded by the European Commission. So in case a funding authority is already funding your resource, you may want to show this here. Here you can choose among different options, the European Commission, ESA, and various other funding agencies. Then the funding program has to be provided as information, and also the name of the project or the grant agreement number. Management. So here there is the help desk page. This is optional because what was mandatory was the email address of the help desk. But you can provide additional information about the help desk here. The user manual is very useful, although optional. The terms of use and privacy policy are not flagged as mandatory now, but they will become mandatory, as Catalin said, on July 1st. So please consider providing this now, because otherwise you will be asked to provide this information after July 1st. Then the access policy, it is optional, but it may be useful. This is important information for prospective users to understand how they can access the service. Then some other additional information, resource level, and also training information, status monitoring. If you have a monitoring in place to provide some information about the service, here is the place where to put this information. The maintenance information about downs and so on can be put there. And the last two menus are related to the ordering. So here in the order tab, you can choose among different options: fully open access, and order required. If you choose order required, you have to state here what is the mechanism for ordering the service, which typically is a link to a web page where there is the description of the steps to be performed to order the service. And then in the financial section, you can find the possibility to fill in information about the payment model in case the service is not free and the pricing model. This is all on my side.
Thanks a lot.
Questions?
Yes,
I will share the...
Okay. I can stop sharing.
Yes, I can share maybe the Slidos, and then can we directly read the questions there.
So if I may, before going to questions, because I tried separately on from scratch as a new provider and stuff. So once you get authentication with Eos portal, so the Eos portal registers you as a new user with full name and an email address. When you start the application for the resource provider, the first admin entry is pre-filled in with these details. So you will see, as I can see my name, Cătălin Condoraki at ej.eu. This information is fetched, is provided by the portal itself. Also, the main contact for the provider is pre-filled with this information. You may want to change, but for admin, you do change only if you know what you are doing about. Main contact can be your director if you are, let's say, on the technical side. But this is pre-filled, and I believe George can confirm this. I'm fairly sure this is happening, unless I did something wrong and I have the wrong impression. But this is important, that some information comes with this, let's say, fresh form.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Catalin, this is correct. Yeah. This is correct. This information pre-filled with the organization the user has.
And we had example when some people overzealous modified the admin information and they couldn't modify further the entry because they changed the email address which was registered in the portal. So this is worth to be.
It is an important warning. Yes. Thanks, Catalin.
Yeah.
Just one more thing. As I was saying at the beginning of my demo, this sandbox instance is available to all of you to try and see how it works. So feel free to try yourself.
Ah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's great that you can just test it and try it out.
Okay.
Yes, thanks. Thanks so much. And so we come to the questions in the Slidos.
Yeah.
Slido. So one question is, what exactly is a resource? Is it a data set or some code or a training instance?
Resource is a very general term which may include everything listed here and probably also some other things. However, for the time being, is it possible to onboard only resources, which means live instances of services? This will change in future because from September, as explained this morning by Paolo Manghi in his presentation, there will be a new version of the portal where also other types of resources, data sets, training materials, and so on and so forth, probably other types of resources such as software, publication, and so on and so forth, will be accepted. So stay tuned to be informed about the evolution of this.
Yeah, thanks for this answer, because this is an often asked question, so this could be very important to clarify this. So one of the next questions, but this is
the next one would be about the API and the web GUI. That one, right? The demo for provider and resource onboarding only shows the web GUI. What about using the API? That doesn't work properly.
I think that George Athanassis can address this.
Yes. Hi, this is George. I'm not sure what that doesn't work properly mean. I mean, if there is a specific, let's say, example that I can address or use case, but the API actually another means of updating or adding information in the catalog, like the way that Luciano showed through the web UI. So API offers methods for adding, updating the profiles, the resource profiles, and the provider information. These two forms that are also available in the web UI. They actually are they comply with OpenAPI standards, and they need an authentication from the user through the Eosc AAI, similar to what a user does in the web. If there is a more specific question, I can go into more details.
Yeah.
Also from our training team, we already identified or heard this need to get training on the API as well. And we are planning to do a follow-up training with the great EPOD team here, if they are still willing to do one with us on the onboarding via API. That is in the works.
Absolutely. So today we focus on the onboarding via the UI, but there's a lot of questions I know for the onboarding via the API. And as Annalena said, this would be great. So we plan to have there an extra training event or something like this. Okay, any other question here? Some new one. So there's a question about, so maybe it would be good to provide an offline template like Word or a checklist to allow people to collect info before starting to fill out the web form.
Yeah, this is already possible because in the portal, when you start onboarding both service providers or can I share my screen again?
Yeah, I will stop sharing.
Okay, let me check where it is. This one, can you see it?
Yeah, perfect.
So this is the service provider onboarding. You can see that here, you can see the mouse, you can download as PDF Excel. So you will have the listing of all the fields. Does this address your question?
Yeah, maybe the question I can mute this mic. So I think, but the PDF you cannot fill out.
No, sorry. But if you want to understand what are the fields you have to fill in, you can do it. So it doesn't work because probably this link, but this is the sandbox instance. So I guess that we have to fix this. You should get the PDF with the information, but this is a different thing. This is the description of the profile. George?
Luciano, no, it is, if you see it is, this links takes you to the provider's documentation page, which contains two links, one for the PDF and one for the Excel.
Okay.
If you go back at the top of the page, exactly, there are two links. The first,
okay, these ones.
So yes, the PDF format is just, for reading purposes, and the Excel is for filling purposes.
But then as soon as you have filled in the information in the Excel file, you cannot upload it automatically to the portal, I guess. Am I right, George?
No, for the moment, we do not accept Excel or CSV or any other format. Mainly, we accept, through the API, only JSON is possible to upload.
Okay.
This is only for reviewing and, let's say, preparing what the user will fill in the forms.
Okay, thanks.
Also, I do believe you have the option to save as a draft what you start filling in. You do not need to finalize in 25 minutes if you have only that to do everything. You put what information you have, you can, I see on my screen here, but is on the production portal, save as draft option. You save it.
This is one. I'm sharing the screen now.
Yeah.
Okay, this one.
So as long next time when you log in, you use that credentials, the very same email address, you'll get access to the same entry. You don't lose anything. You can do your submission in 1-2 days. Is not, and you can find out what are the information requested. You stop it now. You find the information.
So I'm showing. I started filling in test 2 and I save it as draft because we need all the mandatory information.
Yeah.
Possible this is true. Yeah.
But anyway, if you save as a draft, you can see if I look at my providers, I have some entries already filled in. One is called test. I saved it as draft, and now I can restart by filling in the missing information. Okay.
Okay. So maybe, we have 17 minutes left. Maybe we can answer 2 or 3 more questions. I will share. Annalena, you can ask
there are
already.
some on the technology readiness level.
Yeah.
1 second. So we have TRL 7 versus TRL 8 plus. So 7 can be listed as for your information, but cannot be booked at all via the marketplace then later.
Services at TRL 7 are accepted in the catalog, but then are not propagated to the marketplace. So they cannot be ordered through the marketplace.
Okay.
So, but then there's a workflow then. So maybe later on your service have.
Yeah, if you register a service at TRL 7, this is accepted, then you can update whenever you want your service. As soon as it reaches 8 or 9, you can update the entry and it will be automatically propagated to the marketplace.
Great, thanks.
Okay, and also TRL. Is TRL scoring relevant for training or consultancy services?
No, this TRL concept is related to services. For other types of resources, such as consultancy, training, and so on and so forth, it has no meaning. It is meaningless.
But on the other hand, TRL is a self-assessment, is not EPOT assessing this one. If the provider claim is 9 and is onboarded and users find is useless, yeah, it's not very good for the provider. So the provider needs to properly assess their own resources. For training, indeed, yes, because we onboard this type of services. I assume if someone needs to provide training to communities, they should state that, yes, it's level 8 or 9 is production for them. Yes, they are doing useful stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have there as well a question on this training session. So actually, what is this? Venkat just chatted to me that he could answer this.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, Venkat here.
Sorry, which question is it?
Oh, it's further up.
Further up.
Yeah, there. Yeah, I'm the Work Package 9 leader for the Eos Future project for the training and skills. So I thought I would just take the opportunity to maybe answer this. And indeed, I agree that this is not the hands-on in terms of the participants actually being hands-on with what the portal is doing. But what was described earlier by Annalena and Heinrich about the survey, that was actually more part of the wider training program that we're aiming to deliver as part of Work Package 9 for this specific actors group of providers. Today's training session is part of a package with the providers days and wasn't intended specifically to only address what the points were raised from the survey. So the survey was more geared towards what will be delivered in the remainder of the Eos Future project. And you will definitely see workshops being announced during the course of the project, till the conclusion of the project next year, which will be more hands-on in terms of the actual participants. So for example, we will be encouraging participants to bring along their own services or data or whatever it might be, and we can actually delve deeper into this. But for the purposes of today, I accept that it's not hands-on in the sense of the actual participants of this session.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Venkat, for this answer. So
but,
this brings.
If I may about to complement this one, indeed, we have to don't disregard this comment, but maybe it is worth to add those videos which are part of the deliverable which myself, Luciano, and Matthew worked on, and those videos are from A to Z exactly what a provider has to do to fill in the provider form, and it takes about 10 minutes to watch the video, but you can put pause and you can do in parallel similar stuff. It's sort of self-driven hands-on, and you can do the very same thing with the resource. To get to the video about onboarding a resource, again, press stop, pause, do a bit, play on, and you see exactly what it was, I believe myself, with the voiceover of Matt, what you do step by step. It is a bit of fast forwarding when there is some things which are repetitive. And then there is a video, 2 videos which are showing the EPOT activity, might not be useful, but I do believe something more, I don't know, the highlight. There is a video after the EPOT people pressed enter to approve the provider, to approve the resource. After a few minutes, the entries are available in the marketplace, and there is a video about 1 minute when you show the screen of the marketplace with very same information which have been added in the previous video. So it's quite useful, that one, to be shown, but like a self-driven hands-on. I'm not sure hands-on to do with 50 people here.
Yeah, I completely agree, and thank you, Kato, for bringing that up. It depends on the numbers as well. A workshop tutorial type atmosphere is better suited to smaller numbers, less than what we have here, perhaps. But I completely agree with you that we also have the EOS Future or EOS Knowledge Hub coming up, which will also have content there, which will be for self-paced learning. So we will be making this video and other videos available through there, so that if you're not wanting to or not able to participate in a synchronous event, then you will be able to do so at your own leisure. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So there are a few other questions, but I would say, when I look on the time, that so as said, we will all collect all the questions in this collection. I'll show it here. Yes, and then I would say we come to our last questions. So,
Catherine, could you show these in the Slido, please?
Yeah, so we have it as well in the Slido. That's good. Then I stop sharing, and Catherine, can you open the questions in the Slido?
I'm sorry, my mic was not close enough to my face. They're already there. Normally, if you go to the ideas tab,
to the ideas tab.
3 conversations.
Perfect.
I will do. Just a moment.
And I'll try to share my screen again, but before that wasn't working.
Okay.
So I'm now on the slide.
Now it's working. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, I
took
didn't
a
check it at the moment. So this we have now some questions to you, to the audience. So one of this is here shown. In your experience, which problems did you have trying to onboard to Eosc? So you can answer this here, type your idea about this here, or as well, you can unmute your mic and we can go now to an open discussion about this question. So no problems?
No problems. Seems to work fine for everyone. Well, you can always type them. We will leave the Slido open today.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Afterwards, you do have the Google Doc where you can still type those in.
So there's one idea here, Annalena.
There's an idea. Okay, perfect.
So my research infrastructure tried to onboard a service. We got stuck waiting for responses from the ePod. Many months passed before we got the help we needed. Hope this works better now. We are not impressed. So this is a critical question. Yeah.
I'm really sorry about this. If you can contact us to explain who you are, what was the problem, because we have to understand what happened. This is not normal, and so we would like to understand, and if there is an issue, we will try and fix it.
But Luciano, so I heard this as well from other colleague. So, but the right way to contact is this email, onboarding at Eosc-portal.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So I hope this is an answer in some sense. And so we have two other questions. So I start with the last one because this is interesting for our training group team. So considering future trainings, which topics would interest you? So this would be give us answers about this or ideas, give us hints to how we can go on and maybe so within the training team of Eosc Future. So what it's already pointed out or mentioned, so and as was as Annalena said, so for sure there exactly, thanks, that we provide a similar session and as well a training about how to onboarding via API. And as said, we would be very happy if again some people from, I don't know if it's Luciano and Katalin, will here available to to be available as experts to answer the questions. Good, that's one thing.
Another idea of our group was to, oh yeah, okay, no, we have another idea. More focused training in smaller groups, allowing hands-on with providers on those onboarding aspects people find most difficult.
Okay, interesting.
Yes, that's very good. It's a bit out of scope for our task actually, because our aim is to provide trainings that are reusable and that do not require us as persons or the ePod team to be there in person, but to be well, that people can well more web-based basically for people to download and learn on their own. So sustainable beyond this Eosc Future project.
Yeah, if I may suggest that for this kind of focus training, maybe what could be helpful is to collect in advance what are the most relevant issues so that we can prepare focused training about this and understand what is the problem.
Yes.
This could be really helpful for us, at least.
Yeah, but it's an important input. So as well, Venkat. So we can think about it together with the EPO team how we can maybe provide this kind
absolutely.
of training.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. We have it on the list. So 2 minutes left.
Next.
Great.
I want to understand better how to describe my services for the portal and how to interact with our end users. Also, are there resources for supporting writing manuals or how to set up training or how to use our services? Not yet, but one of our partner working groups is developing a Train the Trainer handbook, which will be made available as well. And they are focusing, like we are focusing on Eosc providers. They are focusing on train the trainers and are developing material there. So that is in the plans, yeah.
Great, yeah. So we will bring this question to the trainers team and yeah. Good. So now we are 1 minute left. Maybe there are some other ideas. So one question, so this is again to this training here. So did we miss something in this training? Exactly, thank you. In your opinion, what could be improved? So nothing is perfect, it was perfect. Yeah, as Annalena said, we
maybe people are typing too much, Heiner.
Yeah. Here's one. As far as I know, there are delivery modes of resources. Any material on this? Delivery modes. Maybe Luciano,
I'm not sure I understand the question. What do you mean by delivery modes?
So, good question.
Maybe Joseph,
it is me.
may you please unmute and clarify a bit?
Yes, it's me, Joseph.
Go ahead.
When a resource has been registered, then as far as I know, there are, at least as it was told for me, there are delivery modes, which one may be that, for example, I may give an access to a user for experimenting with my service, for example. Another delivery mode could be that I set up a complete cluster on his own resources. Another delivery mode would be I set up the service on an EGI resource and so on. This is something which I have seen on the pages of other resources, which has been registered as a service. And these are not explained in details until now. I haven't found any material on them. I can just see examples.
Yeah. Yes. So now I understand. So what you're asking for is some guidelines to provide different types of different modes of providing resources, but this is, my opinion, out of the scope of the catalog and the marketplace. So I'm not sure if there is an activity within Eos Future to tackle this, but it's not part of the EPOT activity.
Okay, thank you. So, but is there any material, even if it's not belonging to you?
I really don't know.
Where I can find any information about this?
I am not aware of it, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Maybe we can answer this as well later on in the collection of the questions and answers. So,
our
thanks
time
a lot.
is up.
Yes, exactly. I just share the last final slide here. So here I as well add some links where you can get further help. So it will be provided. So this is on the Eos portal website. You have here the page for providers.
Sorry to interrupt you, but there is a very interesting question in the chat. If we have 1 minute more, I can try to answer.
Of
course. I think so. Please.
It is Lydia Lopez. I have more philosophical question that maybe is not for this training session. Lydia, may you please speak?
Well, I arrived late to this session today, so I'm not sure if you already discussed that at the beginning, because I belong to a research institution and we have several research groups and some of them are providing resources. Okay, so we are in the process of registering our services in the marketplace, but we are not sure if we need to register the institution as one provider or one provider by per research group.
Yeah, I understand. So this is a typical case. There are many institutions similar to yours. There are different possible choices here. I can make you two different examples in Italy. We have two very distributed institutions in Italy. One is my institution, INFN, and another one is CNR. They made different choices. INFN decided to register only one institution, one entry as a service provider, which is INFN. And then the resources are registered by different people. But in the current configuration, this means that in the service provider, in the INFN service provider entries, all the administrators of the different resources have to be listed under the service providers. This will change in the future, as I was trying to explain before, because there will be a new field for the resource, which is administrators. So there will be the possibility to register only one institution and have the resources with different administrators. The other possibility is one chosen by CNR in Italy, but they have a slightly different configuration. They are very distributed, but they are made of different institutes which are quite independent. So they decided to register their some of these institutes, and they, in such a case, but they are a sort of they are not, the institutes are not real legal entities. There are only one legal entity, but they are not research group. They are institutes with a statute and so on and so forth. Although they are not a legal entity, they decided to register different institutes claiming to be legal entities because their overarching structure, the CNR, is a legal entity.
Okay, but in
what we don't want, what we do not accept, is a research group of several people which have no sort of clear identification of a structure.
Legal entity. That was our, because we were not sure if we register the research groups are not legal entities.
Yeah.
So maybe it's easier. Well, I thought that it was easier, not that is not allowed. So yeah, you need the legal entity somewhere. So maybe, or link it some, okay. Thank you.
Okay, or the other possibility is that someone, some part of an institution which is not a legal entity, some group collaboration or whatever, which is not a legal entity, can register leveraging on the hosting legal entity field, but they have to settle an agreement with the hosting legal entity which should be accountable on their behalf.
Okay. Thank you very much. This is very helpful.
Okay. Thank you. So as said, we will collect all the questions and the answer in this document and provide this. So maybe I can very shortly again share my last slide here. Good. I just want to have here listed some links to somewhere you get further help. So as said, on the Eosc portal website, and yeah, okay, you can see it now, but it's the last. Sorry.
These will all be in the Google document as well.
Exactly.
I put the link in the chat once again. So I'm sorry for all the questions we could not answer, but we will get back to the ePod team and put the answers into the document. So if you're still interested, please have a look in a few days. I would like to thank our speakers very much.
Yeah,
for
really,
all the
this was really
expertise.
great.
Yes, that was really, really interesting. And yeah, thanks everyone in the audience for participating, and hope to see you soon at one of our next training events.